Hi there, YouTube. Welcome to the Stratosphere Lounge. It's Bill Whittle, and it is Thursday night, the 10th of April, 2025. Hope everybody's doing well. Give me a moment to get myself a little organized here. We got had a busy day today, working on just the final preparations for breaking out story mechanics. So we got the story mechanics YouTube page looking a little ready to go. And I got all these windows still open. Oh, come on. From all kinds of work that's going on here. Had that clip software device that takes clips and makes clips out of a long segment, and it broke out about 15 or 20 from the Mike Rowe thing. Most of them are of me talking, which isn't good. But I can show you a couple of them, and we haven't posted them over at the new channel yet, but I do have the link for the new channel, and I will pin that comment in the YouTube chat. So same kind of drill as with Natasha, but this time for yours truly. Let's see if we can get people to go over and subscribe before we have any actual content there. Oh my gosh, poor Nick from is in YouTube is saying it's 3:20 a.m. in Croatia. I'm getting up in 4 hours to go to work, so I should go to sleep now, right? Nope, Bill's stream is on. Cheers. Well, Nick, you're a fine fellow, and wish you the very best of your day in Croatia, and thanks for staying up late. Yeah, we had a problem with the camera from the Zoom call this morning. So otherwise, things are actually looking pretty groovy. So I've got a couple of clips that I can drag in, and these have not been really screened for editing or anything, but the main problem is going to be, well, I can just drag them into the window, and they are what they are, right? Let's just do that. So here's what the clip making machine did with 4 clips from what you saw last week. I can, Benjamin, if you want to come back to that later, I sure be happy to talk about that and see if there's anything we can do for you. But anyway, right now, let me see if I can just drag one of these in here and see if it'll work. So again, I have to do this twice, so bear with me here. We'll drag it into YouTube first and see if we can get that to happen.
Mm-hmm. But in the end,
nope.
He knew that
needs to be
the mundane reality of most of our lives can be immeasurably heightened by a good story. You don't pull facts out of thin air necessarily, but everything becomes a slight exaggeration. It's why my podcast is called The Way I Heard It.
Absolutely. And all of the great stories that I love to tell about things that actually happened to me, when I think about how they actually happened to me, they're not nearly as interesting. And nobody wants them to be. You really want. You want your characters to be. Yeah, you want them to be more clever than real people talking. I'm just going to do the one because they're not formatted for this. To the fun of it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
You want to see a more interesting version of yourself.
Yes, that's right. I noticed something. I was thinking about Mark Twain about this too, and I kind of let me just sort of run this backwards. The conclusion I came to is that you can be a monologuist, and you can do a monologue and be a bastard. So I'm but a genuine storyteller seems to have to love people. I'm not talking about a writer now. I'm talking about a person who gets up and actually tells the story.
Mm-hmm. But in the end, he knew that
down. Yep. So sorry about not being more prepared. Like I said, I just kind of got it here. It's a real TV show. It looks like a TV show, and I put a little ad in the middle, which actually might be able to drop. Come to think of it, hang on a minute. It's a tiny little ad. let's see. This should be formatted correctly. Hang on a second. Those two. Yeah, I actually like this. So just right somewhere in 6-7 minutes into it, in between story beats, I just put this together. I think it's kind of cute. Here we go for Twitch, and here it comes for YouTube. Oh man, YouTube is. Let me try that again. YouTube, sorry. This has been a gigantic embarrassment, but in any event, you get the idea. So I'm trying to keep it light, and we're on our way. So let's get going. I had a little conversation with Kelly Carlson today, which was really fun, and I haven't seen her in a long time, and she's real excited. So getting to Kelly in the not too distant future, yeah, this. Oh, and the other thing, I really do like this too, and I can this one should just pop up there. Where is it? I really like the avatar, the channel avatar, which is this. I really like that a lot. Hang on, YouTube, here you go. Yeah, I think that looks fabulous. So anyway, yeah, all of these long promised things are actually coming to fruition. I was here quarter to about 8:15, I guess, and I've been here since then. So it's been actually really good. I love this this style, this visual style, and the Metropolis gives me a lot of really fun stuff. To do bumpers and things like that. One of the things that I'm doing, I'll try it. It may end up being I don't know, just may not work. But I also have at the end of the show another call to subscribe, and I want to make them all different. This one I recorded was. Did you know that active mouse clicking can burn up to 700 calories per minute? It's true. Hit the like, subscribe, and bell notifications, and we'll see you next time right here on Story Mechanics. Always doing something like something like that. Want to save the planet? It's true. All you have to do is click the bell notification, the subscribe, and the like button. You know who doesn't subscribe to my videos? Hitler. Hit the subscribe, the bell, and the like buttons. You get the idea. Just keep doing dumb stuff like that. That's the plan. What is this channel that's all maxed out like that? I'm not going to worry about it right now. Anyway, that's that. So yeah, we're coming along. Bean is doing better and better every day. That's good news. We're not gonna break up into the Bean story or anything, but just. He must have been very, very sick. Natasha was sick. And the thing that I do like is that they are very they're surreal, because I mean it's like the first it really is kind of like the first movie. Hang on, I'm just checking something. So these are the kind of things I'm going to put the show titles over, because the next show is going to be called The Hook, for example. Here, take a look at this. I just think it's fun. Hang on there, YouTube. I can use that for like a section on dialogue or something. They're just They're just bizarre. So let me go ahead and get that. Can I make it? Can I make it story mechanics with an X to avoid the other channel? No, Dave, I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to avoid a channel that's been dead for 3 years, never got off the ground. And even if it was called story mechanics, I would still call it story mechanics. To use the X would just completely squash the whole, Metropolis vibe, and you might as well just call it Boys in the Story. But anyway, so let me go ahead and get to that actual channel. That'll be kind of a useful thing to do. Here it is. And I will put this and pin this comment. Let me just double check it and make sure it works first, because we're all about quality control here at the Stratosphere Lounge, as you well know by now. Okay. I'm going to put these in the comment section, and we'll keep an eye on them as night goes by. So far, we have 0 subscribers. This is like throwing hamburger into a piranha tank. But have at it. Here you go, Twitch. I've got to sign in over on YouTube. If you are of a mind to and can head over there and hit the subscribe button, I'd be very grateful. And here comes the YouTube, boom. Now I gotta pin this baby. Pin message. Yes. Message pinned. There you go, hooray. And we're off. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the subscribes. Wow, look at this. I've got a success on my hand. 30 subscribers. We have to do better, people. No, it's great. I've got one. See, I made the playlist public, but I didn't make the video public. But it's there, so what the hell? I'll just leave it up. It's what everybody saw last time. So you get a look at. I'll just leave that up there, and we'll make a big announcement. But right now, I'll just let it soak up some love. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, gosh, trying to catch up here. Just setting up my windows. I've got, it is really crazy inconvenient to have to do 2 streams at the same time. And I'm sure there's a way around it. Just haven't been able to find it. Thank you so much for all the subscriptions, folks. Really appreciate it. Natasha has passed 2,200, maybe 2,300 now. We got her to 1,300. The last 1,000 have been, kind of organic. And let's see. Gosh, I think what I will do is I think I might just jump into the comments again early. I don't want to do a short show, but I'm again, we're really we're at the point where we're just trying to get this thing off the ground. Thank you. I remember. I was thinking I would do this for my birthday, but spent a couple days Natasha's birthday and my birthday up at Lake Arrowhead, which was great. 2,250 subscribers for Natasha. Most of that is due to you fine folks, and we're very, very grateful. It makes Natasha's day every day, and she's actually building an audience, and looks like she's going to be posting relatively soon her doing the sound bowls, which are these, and she sure does look pretty when she's doing them. So what I was going to say is, looks like I'm going to be going for an airplane ride in the near future, maybe tomorrow or the next day. Found a place at Van Nuys Airport that rents katanas, and also they have a Lycoming version of that, and I haven't flown in over 8 years. So what I'm going to do is just go out to the practice area, fly around a little bit, log that time, and then count it towards a BFR. And I won't pull over 5Gs in the Katana, I promise. And see how it feels. And if it feels good, then I'll go ahead and get the medical, and I might start flying again. I really miss it, and Natasha's getting tired of me, so it all works out. No, the Katana, like the Sky Arrow that I had, the Long Easy was a bit of a thoroughbred and temperamental like a thoroughbred. But the Sky Arrow, that airplane was that we never had a hiccup in that airplane, not even a hiccup. My God, you busted half Nickel Swamp said, speaking of flying, a helicopter crashed today in the Hudson River, caught on video. So anyway, the Sky Arrow is a just a super reliable airplane, and we never had a hiccup in it. I've got 500 hours in it, and yeah, Sky Arrow got passed by a goose, and a hot air balloon blew past us. It really made me angry. But it's a sweet little airplane, and it's up in Washington State now. So yeah, 6 dead. God Almighty. Well, it's gonna cheer Natasha up, no doubt, if she's watching. I suspect she probably is. And again, thank you so much from both of us for the kind wishes about the birthdays and the very, very kind comments on Natasha's channel. It really is tremendous. She's just cranking them out, and all the kind words for Bean and all the rest of them. And I think I've been trying to get Natasha to post videos of our little Persian Katya, which is, I almost said Natasha's little cat, but Katya is pretty much her own cat. She does what she wants, but she mostly just stares at the wall and calculates trajectories for black holes that are orbiting, pulsars, that kind of thing. Yeah, she's catatonic. Well done, Dave. Big booty, beautiful. But that is the cutest little cat in the universe. She is really, really, really. Thank you, Veronica. Really, really cute little girl. That Katya. She's something else. What did I see? Oh, Smith Wesson said, "Is it okay if my 350-year-old uncle subscribes? He was just taken off Social Security. He's probably got plenty of time on his hands now. I would think so. So in any event, yeah, let's see what we can do." Gerald Stewart says, "What's the name of the plane that looks like a Long Easy and has 4 and a half props?" That would be the Defiant, if I recall correctly. I cannot do that. Busted. I'm busy as a one-armed paper hanger here. There you go. So anyway, I think what I'll do is I'm going to pop into the comments, and we'll do all the comments. And if it turns out it's a short show again, then my apologies. But I think everybody would be happier just to see this thing up and launched and ready to go. I am still working with guys overseas on the website. I am really at the end of my rope here. One of the biggest problems with this, well, the good news is you save a lot of money, like a lot of money. The bad news is, since they're on the other side of the planet, you got this running conversation going on in Fiverr. So it's like, well, have you tried doing this? And since they're sleeping, you don't get an answer until 4 in the morning when you're sleeping. And so it's like 6 hours between chat entries, and it's a little tedious. But I'm at the point now where we got to get moving, and I might just actually find somebody on this side of the pond. To be perfectly honest with you, the main reason I don't go with a with looking for a web developer here in the United States is that I would imagine that most of them, not all of them certainly, but I'd have no way of knowing, most of them probably lean liberal. Last thing I want to do is hand over the keys to the kingdom to somebody who, decides to sabotage the thing because, well, they wrote something nice about Donald Trump. So that's the main reason I'm going overseas, and it's a pretty damn good reason, actually. Yeah. Oh, people asking about the shirt. Sure, we can do a shirt pass. There you go. Groovy, baby. I don't think tan is my favorite color. It's kind of a banana pudding yellow, but it's different. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's just go ahead and do that. We're still working, like I said, on trying to figure out why the website is so slow for members. One of our members, who's been very kind, has given us a lot of diagnostic data. He said there's 2 images that take 9 or 10 seconds to load, and they're in folders. One folder is labeled 2019, one folder is labeled 220, but the new website didn't go up till 2020, end of 2023. So, I don't know what the hell that's all about. I do know. I said, well, that just came up fast. I thought maybe the guy got something done, but I wasn't logged in, so let's log in and see what we got here. Yeah, this is a giant goat rodeo today. This is just like, my God, got a show to do. So let's get all these things done. Thank you again for all of you that have gone over to subscribe. If you see the new comment there, we've got the Story Mechanics channel on YouTube up, and I will start getting some of that content up there. I'll probably make the part 1 live, and then I'll just let it sit there, and then I'll make a big announcement. So it'll pick up, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 views or so. Let's see. What am I doing? There we go. Yeah, it's there are days when just make sure they're PNG and web files. Don't use JPEG or TIFF. They're almost all JPEGs. It goes blindingly fast when we're not logged in. So the problem is somewhere there. It's not a. I mean, I spent a lot of effort, compressing these images, and I'm real happy with the level of compression. And when we're not logged in, it zooms. So that's not the problem. Seems like some kind of Stack Overflow or something. Sounded like I knew what I was talking about. But don't let that fool you. All right, here we go. To the forum. TSL questions for 4/10/25. That would be today. Yes, I'm aware of that, Marusha. And thank you, by the way, for curating the comment section here today. And if you feel like making a sandwich while this loads, then feel free to be my guest. All right. We got a Marusha Dark. We got a Road Runner. We got a Capital G Geek. We got a David Newland. Hello, Newland. We got a Dragon Tail. That's a cool name. That's first for that. We got a Bob Neef. We got a Marusha Dark. Got an Eric Blake. Yeah, we can do those, and then we'll call it a night, I reckon. Yeah, let's see what we got. And for those of you who are watching these shows, have been watching for a while, this is one of the members-only benefits. Is you get the ability to ask questions for the Stratosphere shows. I think is the smallest part of the member experience. Just some people have made some lifelong best friends there, and it's a real active community. You get to make your own blog posts, and some of the blog posts I've seen on the site are, a lot of people in this group really could use their own blogs. I miss the blog days. The blog days were really cool. That was really just a fun time. Everybody was brand new and excited, and and you'd get a link from Instapundit, and next thing you know, you've got 12,000 views in 10 minutes, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Somebody's actually listening to me. It was tremendous. All right, here we go. Marusha Dark, topic, power behind the throne. Bill, you've often asked who's really in charge during the Biden administration and who decided to finally pull him and when and put Kamala in place, who coached her, etc. I'm not sure if you watched it, but Lindy Lee, a former member of Kamala's inner circle, recently went on Dave Rubin. I saw a bit of that interview. To blow the whistle on all those questions, it's worth watching the full interview, as there are a lot of juicy details, but the too long didn't read is that she names Representative James Clyburn as the man behind the curtain. He was the source of a lot of the DEI stuff and push for Kamala to be appointed. Yeah, that's a shocking interview. Perhaps unsurprising, she names Jill Biden and Adam Schiff as being heavily involved. Adam Schiff, President of the United States of America. That's great. Hey, Busted, love having you here, man. And I appreciate all the enthusiasm for the questions. But if it's not coming from the members section, I'm not gonna take it. So maybe when we get this thing up and rolling and I have a little more steam, I can do another 3-hour tour. We can take it from there. But basically, I'm just going to be taking questions from the comment section tonight. So I'm sorry, from the members forum. Adam Schiff, what an alpha man, mountain of a man. My God. Perhaps somewhat surprising, Pelosi and Schumer were less involved in his actual removal, but still heavily involved with the administration overall. Lindy also mentions 3 other people in that interview: Anita Dunn, Mike Donnellan, and Steve Ricchetti, whose names aren't well known to the public, but if you want the identities of the people most responsible, what they knew and when, that's all in there. Lindy's also coming out with the tell-all book soon, so you might be interested in that. Yeah, this doesn't even surprise me, and it's, I've said this before. It's like back during the dark days of the Biden administration, before the sun came up and we at least had a fighting chance. I remember thinking, if we have to lose America, can't we lose it to overwhelming forces with tanks and machine guns and robot soldiers and something like that? Do we really have to lose the country to these weenies, to these gamma male D-bags and these shrieking harpies and these lunatics and these green-haired teachers? Is that who's gonna be standing on top of this hill? I never thought that they would win long term, but and it turns out I was right about that. But in any event, 5 whole months ago. But in any event, I just am so struck at the smallness of it, right? You kind of want to think that if Joe Biden wasn't running the United States of America, that it was Klaus Schwab himself, sitting in his Frankencastle with all of his, transformers and his frickin' levers and all the rest of that, and that, it was a cabal of market leaders and biotech, wizards and guys like Elon Musk, for example. But nope, it's just politicos, just hacks, just appointees, Adam Schiff and a couple of representatives who just happen to be at the right place at the right time with the right ice cream cone. And next thing you know, the country's being run by these clowns. So they had their coup, and they had their sneak attack, and they had their 2020 election. And if they had not succeeded at that, we would not be in the excellent position we are in now. One of my brothers is a more staunch Trump supporter than I am. He's the older of the other two. And the other one is fairly liberal. And he basically was talking about the tariffs, and saying, oh my God, this is the absolute utmost in incompetence. And once again, I'm thinking, you guys, you liberals you're playing 1D chess. You can't see past the move that's on the board. It is a chess game, and you cannot see anything beyond what's actually on the board right at this moment. My God, the pawn is exposed, or look at that, the queen is, for God's sakes, man, I'm really reaching a point with Donald Trump where I am just honestly kicking back with my hands behind my head, and I got a beer in one hand, and I'm saying, this guy knows what the hell he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's kicking their asses. and he's kicking their asses so hard, and it seems like it's so easy. So I'm looking at a bunch of channels coming out of China, anti-Chinese channels. So figure that bias is in there. But my God, man, the Chinese are having a freaking heart attack. They're just getting demolished. Their stocks are just cratering. Our stocks are down a couple thousand points on a 40,000 point market. Our stocks are down 9% or something, and it's it's the end of the world. It's like, no, it's not the end of the world. And all of these Chinese stocks they're just tanked. They're cratered. Yeah, Lady Hawk says she might go missing soon. He might get one of those 9mm headaches that the communists are famous for. It's at the point where Chinese life before the tariffs was getting more and more miserable. Shanghai is deserted. Beijing airports are deserted. And all of these millions and millions of Chinese are graduating colleges with these advanced degrees, and they're taking jobs as food delivery drivers. So the regime is in real trouble anyway. But with these tariffs, they realize, they're all looking around at like, what the hell are we going to do? There's nothing left. There's nothing left. And when I see that much wailing and that much pain from China, I feel some sympathy. I do. I genuinely do feel some sympathy for the regular Chinese citizen. But as a country that just did nothing but steal our stuff, cheat, that goes fishing in the international waters of every country that has a shore in the world, it is a criminal regime, and it needs to go. And I was watching this last night, and I thought, it's possible that Trump may not only solve the Gaza war and the Ukraine war over time, but it's possible that he might force our only real geopolitical enemy off the stage. There could be a revolution in China, and all of a sudden China could become a relatively democratic country that's ready to play fair, and they'd stop building the Navy, and they'd get on with. I mean, it's not off the table. He is breaking their back. Just these tariffs are breaking their back. And he put, like, what was it, a 30-40% tariff on West Taiwan, as Dave Big Booty points out, and they're screaming and yelling, and they're going to sue, or going to be reciprocal. Oh, in that case, well, let's make it 125%. And people in the comments are saying, make it 400%. And I was watching the comments on this video about how hard things are for the Chinese right now, and every single one of the top 30, every one of them was, well, now you know how it feels. You came in here with your dumping chips, dumping tools, dumping everything. You manufacture garbage. You steal intellectual property. You steal IPs. You simply just steal it. You repackage it, make it badly, sell it back to us, and boo hoo hoo, cry me a river. And I'm one of those guys. It's just glorious, man. It's glorious. So what happened with the tariffs, right? The tariffs are going to come and they're going to ruin the economy. This level of financial incompetence is my brother speaking, and it's like, honestly, seriously, what actually happened? Well, we put a 30-day pause on the tariffs because we practiced on Canada and Mexico. They cannot survive if we put those tariffs on there. Trump knows this. The tariffs are there in order to get not just fair trade for America, but to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. You want to get around the tariffs? Then build it in America. And yes, and Wesley Bruce points out something that's very, very far below the radar, but there has been a massive shift in China from the cities back to the farmlands. The situation is getting so desperate in these top-tier cities in terms of work and economy, and the rents are so high, that Wesley points out the smart Chinese went back to the countryside and started growing corn, beans, and veggies on road verges. Yeah, they're just growing corn on the side of the road so they can eat. So when you hear people, oh, Trump's going to start a trade war around the world. No, Trump's going to threaten a trade war around the world, and Trump understands who's holding the big bag of money that everybody wants, which is the American middle class buying power. And the people that are holding that money, it turns out, now have a president that represents them. There's been a lot of talk about what Trump is really doing is actually redistributing wealth back to the middle class from the financial class, and I get the broad outlines of that, although economics are not my strong suit. I don't know if economics are anybody's strong suit, to be honest with you. I think the whole thing is frankly just a form of witchcraft and sorcery. But in any event, it's amazing how badly taken advantage of we've been for 50 years now, honestly, 40, 50 years. And not just with China. For example, we put tariffs on Vietnam, and Vietnam said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I didn't say we're invulnerable, Alex. I'm not trying to give you that impression. If I sound a little overly triumphant, it's just because I think this has been a long time coming. But what China was doing was China was selling massive amounts of stuff to Vietnam, and then Vietnam would be bringing it into the U.S. market. So the Chinese were sending it into the U.S. through the back door. We closed that back door, and now Vietnam is saying, we'd love to talk to you about a world where you don't charge us any tariffs and we don't charge you any tariffs. And Trump is saying, fantastic, just had a great call with the president of Vietnam, lovely guy. I'm sure we can make a deal that'll make everybody very happy, and we'll live in a world where instead of nothing but tariffs, we'll live in a world where there are no tariffs instead of tariffs on us and only us, and we subsidize all of the rest of these governments around the planet. So I just think it's fantastic, man. I just think it's just freaking awesome. Wesley again says, with the super chat, says everyone started negotiating, so Trump's paused the process so the paperwork can be done. Yeah, and not just so the paperwork can be done, so that everybody else can sit and think about it. It's freaking epic. It's like I say, man. I am kicking back and watching like I'm sitting on a beach lounge. Wizard King Corey here has a comment I think is interesting. He says, "That's exactly what I voted for, but I'm disappointed in the lack of criminal charges for a lot of the thieves and swindlers." I've talked about this before, Wizard. Those things take time. First of all, you need the FBI on your side in order to investigate this army of criminals. And you need to gather evidence. And gathering evidence takes time. And then putting together a case takes time. And then deciding just exactly how far you can go with the prosecution take time. Then there's a lot of time that has to be taken making deals with the lower level clowns in order to lower or drop their charges to get to the big guys. And so I'm not worried about that yet. Oh, that's nice. Castellan says, "Hey, Wizard King, Dan Bongino has said, just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean it isn't coming." If that came out of Dan Bongino's mouth, it's good enough for me, man. Good enough for me. If they take long enough that the leadership of the FBI changes back to the Democrats, then the charges will be dropped. They've got 15 months guaranteed. That's guaranteed. And I don't see them. I see them losing seats in the midterms, although that's still a long term away. And by the way, if you're going to restructure the entire economy and cause all of this, volatility and uncertainty in the markets, which of course you can't have, then let's get it over with now, and have a volatile couple of months, so that by the time we start rolling into end of 2023, early 24, 26. Then there you go. So anyway, that's that. Roadrunner, greetings, friend Bill. Hello, friend Roadrunner. On Wednesday, President Trump signed an executive order ending the Obama-Biden requirements for low-flow toilets, shower heads, dishwashers, etc. Oh my God, the man never stops being a miracle. The U.S. can finally start conserving water again, not having to flush multiple times, not taking longer showers to get rinsed off, not having to wash dishes twice to get them clean. Do you know the steps required to have someone declared a saint? Yeah, the guy... Sent a picture of Trump signing papers saying F this Biden policy and F this one and F that one and that one. He is a man who has no Fs left to give. Yes, if these things actually conserved water, you could at least make the case for it. And but you're right. You know, oh, it's a low flow toilet, so you have to flush it twice. It's a low flow shower head, so you have to take showers that are twice as long or 3 times. You get the idea, right? It's madness. But I'm with you, pal. The guy is just like I said. I'm kicking back. I'm not worried about anything. I am absolutely sanguine. I'm as loose as a goose on Methuselah. I'm just sitting there going, all right. Donald Trump has deployed the. Donald Trump has reinstated the Strategic Air Command specifically so that he could deploy all of our alert wings onto full, DEFCON 5. The bombers are on their way to their holding points. I'm like, I don't know what he really wants, but I know it's not nuclear war, so I'm going to just sit back and watch him do what he does, because that boy he's a sharp dude. I'm just so bloody proud of him. I'm so proud of him. I couldn't be happier. Could not be happier. I'm just tickled. So there you go. Capital G Geek. Greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. I've been concerned with the disparity of cost for fighting the Houthis. Yeah, this is an interesting subject, actually. I'm not sure it's a win when we knock down $30,000 drones with multi-million-dollar missiles, not to mention the magazine capacity and reloadability of our guided missile cruisers. I'll come back to that. But obviously, if you shoot a multi-million-dollar missile to knock down a $30,000 drone, if you don't shoot down that $30,000 drone with a $1 million missile, and it sinks a $30 million, $40 million tanker, you get the idea. I think I may have a solution of it, courtesy of one of David Weber's Honor Harrington books. What if we filled a shipping container with vertical launch tubes for a small drone interceptor rockets, and then put the container on something a little larger than a PT boat? All guidance and control could be done by bigger boats, with that just being a remote launch platform. Reloading would be as simple as replacing the old container and plugging it in. The answer everyone else comes up with is some sort of a laser weapon, but I've spent a little time at sea and can't imagine that working well under any kind of weather, or even with spray kicked up by winds. The Marines have a similar idea with their Every Marine a Drone Operator concept, and here's a link to it. Listen, this is a complex subject, but one thing I am convinced of, having taken a pretty close look at drone warfare and just from a theoretical point of view, this business about trying to shoot down individual drones is not the answer. It's just not, for the reasons you list. And they're not $30,000 drones in Ukraine. I don't know what these things are costing, but they may be $1,000. It looks like they're less. They just mass produce them. They're suicide drones. They just fly them into soldiers. It's like a precision guided hand grenade. The answer with drones is not an individual shoot down solution. It's got to be an area denial weapon, and what that means is it's got to be either a microwave system that fries the electronics on all of them, which we've got in the field and that we're testing, or something akin to a jammer, something that you just turn on and provides a radius of protection against all of them. Because this idea of trying to shoot them all down, even with lasers, my understanding about the situation with lasers is that we're about an order of magnitude away from having those things be effective. Right now, the problem with lasers is we can shoot down drones with lasers. The problem is that the lasers are not powerful enough to just zap the drone. You got to keep the lasers on the drone for 7 seconds, 8, 9, 10 seconds. That's way too long. If you had an order of magnitude increase in the power of the lasers, then you literally go zap, 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 zap. That might be a solution. But right now it's zap, zap. That's not going to do it. So I'm not giving up on lasers, but the microwave thing is great, and I don't know who's working on it. I don't know if it was Anduril or somebody, but the idea is that we apparently can focus microwaves now and do it very, very quickly, and do it with a level of precision where we can basically have our drones in the sky in that area, and we can just pick out the ones that that are giving us trouble and leave the other ones. Mazers and grazers and bears. Oh my, yeah. So yeah, EMP is a possibility too. So there's no defeating drones. The answer to defeating drones is not to build interceptors. It is much harder to intercept a baseball than it is to throw one. And so I am very worried about drone swarms, but I'm also confident that we've got our best men on the job, our best men, and I think they're doing a kicking job. So here we go. Here is a question from David Newland. Hi, hail Bill. Hail David. How are you? I'm attaching a link here for a video which you can watch in your copious free time, but let me give you the gist for discussion. China's real population is nowhere near their reported figure of 1.4 billion. The best estimates from insiders, and it was never above about 900 million, and COVID killed, this is not a typo, 500 million Chinese between 2020 and present. I'm not saying it's untrue. I'm just saying that is that's a historic. I mean, that's 50 million would be very difficult to believe. But I'm not calling you a liar. I know there were stories about large numbers of cell phones that were just disappearing, and all the rest of that stuff. But I think the overall point that China doesn't have the population that they're claiming, I think that's probably true. All right, but he goes on, leaving the current actual population between 3 and 400 million people. That's not just from the linked video, but numerous other insider videos as well. They're in a world of hurt, probably to the point of panic. I have seen their cities looking empty. I've seen their airports, in middle day, and all of these restaurants shut down, and there's 4 people in the terminal. China has a one-track economy, and that is sell to America. We are self-sufficient, and China is not. And this was their enormous mistake, was because of their ego and their need to save face, and the fact that they're communists. Obviously, that's what being a communist is all about. You can't let the capitalists, continue to blow you out of the water, because that's the end of your philosophy. So what communist societies do is they spend enormous amounts of resources to try and stay current with, or in a couple of cases, like with Sputnik or whatever, to surpass the West, and that gives them credibility, and it gives them another decade of murdering people. But you can't. They don't have the ideological capacity to understand that you build from the bottom up. This is what it is about communism and collectivism. Collectivism is a top-down social form. It is a highly, highly centralized state where orders come from the Central Committee and go down to the people. And if China, because China was in the Stone Age by 2000. I mentioned this several times before. I did a documentary back in 2001. I was working on it during 9/11. And I was editing it, and we had footage from 2000 and we had footage from 1996, and you couldn't cut the two together, because in 1996 everybody was wearing blue Mao jackets, and the houses didn't have any, they had dirt floors. And then by the time you get to 2000, 2001, everybody's driving Mercedes and has got a cell phone. So they made this enormous jump and obviously a large part of that percentage growth was they were starting from the Stone Age baseline. But with all that said, they could have built their economy from the ground up if they hadn't been a bunch of commie teabags, But they are, so they didn't. So they've got this super top-heavy thing with these. We're going to build entire cities. Well, now you have entire cities that are empty. We're going to build skyscraper apartments so that people have something to invest their money in. Except that the Chinese Communist Party is taking 40% of the total. And so the only way that the people who are building the buildings can make any money is to make them out of tofu. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's just it is not a robust system. And the idea that the Chinese Communist Party could fall, and all of the concerns that we have about the invasion of Taiwan and the Chinese Navy, and could the U.S. take on these fighters and blah, 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 Chinese hypersonic missiles, it's not out of the question that these concerns could just fall off the table because this is the commies doing what commies do in order to stay in power. They're throwing their weight around. And, we have a 6th generation stealth fighter. Well, it's got 3 engines on it, and I'm sure it's got a, vacuum tubes or whatever the case may be, but it's like, it's possible. It's possible. Anyway, back to Dave Newland's question. They're in a world of hurt, probably to the point of panic. Do you think this is why they're the only ones to really retaliate against Trump's tariffs? Yes, they're communists. They can't do anything else. They can't do what Vietnam did. Vietnam saw that America was serious about the tariffs, got on the phone and said, "Oh, Mr. Trump, yes, as the president of Vietnam, very nice to speak to you. Hey, listen, I have an idea. How about if we drop our tariffs to 0? If we did that, would you drop your tariffs to 0? Absolutely, sounds like a great plan." God, China can't do that. China can't call Trump and say, "Hey, listen, we'll take off the tariffs that we've had against American goods since they joined the World Trade Organization, and we're not going to steal any more intellectual property, and we're not going to steal any more of your military secrets, and we're not going to make junk and resell it." And no, they can't do that. They can't. So they're stuck. They're stuck being commies, and they're headed where the rest of the commies in the world headed, and that is the dustbin of history, to use Trotsky's term. And it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people, and I expect that I might live to see it. Is this the life and death time for the CCP? Yes, this will be the end of the CCP one way or another. One way or another. I deal with a number of Chinese suppliers in my job, and things are not well with them. No, they are not. They are. You should really look up a couple of videos on China economy. You just have, and again, I feel sympathy for the average Chinese citizen who basically just wants like everybody else. They want a family, and they want a little security, and they want to live and stuff. You see these grown women crying because when they woke up this morning, their stock portfolio, when they woke up compared to last night, their stock portfolio is down 180,000 yuan, and then by the end of the day, it's down 340,000 yuan, and they are not happy about it. That's basically what's going on with them. So with the genuine caveat that I feel bad for the average citizen who's suffering, I am enjoying this, looking at China as an entity and China's behavior with the fishing and all of that stuff, and ramming ships and all, you got this coming. You got this coming and more. China Uncensored is a very good channel. You might want to. Thank you, Gra. China Uncensored on YouTube is an excellent channel, and that's where I get a lot of my information about them. So check it out. You won't believe how desperate it is over there, and the American left still look at when Xi came to visit San Francisco, and Gavin Newsom decided to be a governor for 3 days, clean up the town, get rid of the homeless people, clean the trash off the streets, have the parade for the communists through the streets of San Francisco, and then back to having human feces on the streets and so on. Those are the people that still believe China is the future because they're collectivists. Collectivists are idiots, and collectivists are murderers, and collectivists are the scum of the earth, and the collectivists are in fast, full retreat, and couldn't happen to a worse bunch of people. So there we go. Here's something from Dragon Tail. Cool. Got a groovy kind of a yacht kind of a avatar there. Not really a yacht, just kind of I can't tell if that's a mast or not. It looks like it might be a sloop or something. I can't quite make it out. But anyway, it's a groovy boat. Greetings from the physical, not political swamps of northern coastal Carolina. Shout out to Capital G Geek. I will never get to see Hillary in an orange jumpsuit outside of AI images. Now there's a prompt for you. I'll be right back. You may. That said, perhaps my greatest desire out of Trump 47 is for politicians to feel like the rest of us who have to follow the law, that there are consequences when they don't. Amen, brother. Amen. I am really with you, and I just have to deal with this just because it's so far right up my alley. My buddy Unlimited Hornet Works says J-20 pilots, the Chinese counter to the F-22, have been facing off against the F-35 in the South China Sea and antagonizing each other, and the F-35s have been outmaneuvering the J-20s constantly. And even if they even if they don't outmaneuver them, the J-20s are never going to lock the F-35s. F-35 is going to blow them out of the sky before they get their missiles off. So, and DCS is working on an F-35 thing, you know. Lapco92 says, sad you outsource some IT work. Guess the boomer runs deep. Well, like I said earlier, Lapco, my main concern is not saving money. My main concern is not handing over the keys to my website to some graphic designer in Portland who's going to decide that they don't like the Trump post that I posted and do whatever the hell they want to the site. You know, when I give people the keys to the back door on WordPress, that's lefting, you know, that's risky. So there's a certain amount of security there because it's being done by people who don't give an F, frankly. Did I miss one? Baron of Grey Matter says, think about China's economy like the mock town they built in the High Plains Drifter, Lagos. Yeah, it's a Potemkin country. I could ask Daily Wire who they use for their websites or other conservatives, but I don't have their budget, and I don't need it. I just need frickin' the F-35 nickname is Fat Amy. It's what I need is somebody to find what it looks like a Stack Overflow or something, and I get that fixed and we're on our way. Okay, so back to Dragon Tail here. Not since before Bill Clinton have I felt, left-wing at least, politicians fear true consequences for their actions. Do you think this will happen now? Is this going to be deterrence for any meaningful time? Started with Stratosphere Lounge episode 87. Hooray! Though I used to read Eject, Eject, Eject. What was the thing with the cardboard submarine? Okay, so let me just wrap this up in sequence here. We mentioned earlier that charges take a while to investigate and collate, and then deals have to be made, and you plea bargain down the little fish to get to the big fish and all the rest of it. So I think we will see that. And as we said earlier, I know this is before we got to your question, but Dan Bongino said just because you don't see these things coming doesn't mean they're not coming. He says they're coming. So there's that. The cardboard submarine is every kid who's my age grew up reading Boys Life magazine, and in the back were all these ads for these miraculous things like X-ray specs and stuff. But the one that everybody wanted was the Polaris submarine. It was advertised as looking exactly like a Polaris submarine for two people. You could fit inside it. And one guy worked on the periscope, and the other guy worked on the missiles, and you'd see a Polaris missile coming out of the thing, and the thing looked awesome. And I begged my dad for one, and it was the crazy expensive price. You could have your own submarine for something like $7.89 or something like that. And I just, when I say I begged my dad for one, it's not like we didn't have the money or I couldn't have gotten whatever it was. It's just it had to be ordered from the United States, and I had to get it to Bermuda, so that's why it was a little tricky. And he said, "Nah, Bill, it's made out of cardboard." And I remember something died inside. That's when I first became aware of the world that the adults live in. It's like, what? Now, somebody finally turned up a picture of one. I saw one sitting in a backyard. It's an old, looked like a Polaroid snapshot of the Polaris submarine. Looks nothing like what was in the magazine ad, but it, on the other hand, also looked very, very, very cool. Rusha Dark just put the link into the YouTube stream. And I would love to have had one. I would have had a lot of fun in that thing. It looked wicked cool. So that's the thing with the cardboard submarine. And Bob Neef entered the chat not too long ago, so we're just getting to his question now, which is good. I'm a fan of both George Washington and Neil Armstrong. There seems to me to be a lot of synergies between them. Your thoughts? Yes, that's an interesting question. I think the first thing that strikes me about the similarities between Armstrong and Washington, both great heroes of mine as well, is their control over their emotions. Washington and Armstrong were both men in arguably, this is an interesting comparison between the two. You could make a case that the only other person who could be in that club in terms of just plain pressure would be Lincoln, because Armstrong had the entire world, not just the world, more importantly, had every single American watching his every move. We're in this space race with the Soviets, and Armstrong they had a lot of problems on that flight, and Armstrong managed to keep his emotions under control. They're on their way down to the surface. They've got 4 minutes to go, something like that. They lose their ground sensing radar. They no longer know how hard they are above the lunar surface, and they are in deep pudding. And Armstrong, as I said in Apollo 11, what we saw, real good ideas said, I can't find, it's on Daily Wire. Yeah, I think you have to be a member. Armstrong, the most he's ever been upset, this is the most upset the man's ever been. He said, give us a reading on the 1202 alarm. A little brusquely. He parachuted out of the lunar landing simulator 1/10 of a second before it would have killed him. Genuinely a 1/10 of a second. They did the math on it. I mean, the thing was going over on its side, and he punched out at the absolute last minute. And parachutes, through the fireball, gets in his short sleeve shirt with a button down collar and puts on his clip tie and is sitting there doing the paperwork when all the rest of the astronauts came in the morning. So 1202. I don't remember what it was. I should know better. I think it was a 1202. Summer Day says President Trump is a once-in-a-century gift and a blessing for America. Couldn't agree more. I have to tell you, this is a little annoying. Real Good Ideas says, I'm a Daily Wire member. It's not there. Real Good Ideas, I think it is. I know that when I went looking for it, I had to dig, and I wasn't happy about that. But it's under shows, and then it's under another subcategory, and then it's somewhere else. But I cannot imagine they took it down. It's hard to find, and it shouldn't be. So I'm not super happy about that. But yeah, so they both had control over their emotions. Washington was an incredibly ambitious guy, and fought constant war with himself, trying to control his ambition, and he not only succeeded, he succeeded spectacularly. He could have been king. They wanted to make him king. He said no. They wanted to call the president Your Excellency. Eric Blake in Twitch says it is absolutely still there. I have it up now. So it's very hard to find, and it shouldn't be. Anyway, so they have that in common. They're both the physical courage that they both had. Wasn't that prior to the Revolution when Washington was fighting the Indian Wars, and he came out of a skirmish, and wasn't it 3 bullet holes they found in his uniform where it had gone through the wool, not touched him? Armstrong, obviously, on Gemini 8, and training for the Apollo 11 mission. During the mission, Armstrong, as a test pilot, bounced off the atmosphere. Wasn't it Armstrong bounced off the atmosphere? I think in the X-15. Anybody who flew the X-15, that's look at the wing area on the X-15, and you will see that a glider it is not. And so they had tremendous physical courage, both of them. But the great quality, the single quality that they both had, and the reason that they become heroic, mythical is a better word than heroic, because there's a lot of heroic people. The reason Armstrong and Washington are mythical, almost impossible to believe that humans like that actually lived, is their fundamental and basic and genuine humility. Their humility. Armstrong Baron of Gray Matter says it had the glide ratio of a piano. I got to use that. I love that. That's perfect. I was going to say glide ratio of a brick, but a piano is much better. That's a fabulous line, Baron. Armstrong insisted that the Apollo 11 patch was the only patch that did not have the crew names on it. Now, as it turns out, Apollo 13 doesn't have the crew names on it, but that's only because they had to switch them out, 2 days before the launch. That's my understanding anyway. Armstrong said, this is not about us, this is about the country, this is about the world. Apollo 11 just says Apollo 11. It doesn't say XIV, it doesn't say XI. It just says 11. Apollo 11, that's all it says. He took his name off of it. He used to sign autographs until he found out that people were selling them, and then he stopped signing autographs. Bert Rutan has 2 autographed Armstrong articles, and that's rare. And the only time Armstrong got angry, like I can tell, like all the way angry, was he actually sued somebody, and the person he sued was his barber. He sued his barber because his barber was selling his hair, and Armstrong threatened to sue him and made him donate all of that money to a charity. The Rough Ryan says I might have one for Neil Armstrong for his Eagle Scout. My understanding is that Armstrong wrote a personal letter to an Eagle Scout for decades after he became the first man to walk on the moon. So, he's just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. So, I love them both. And when George Washington was called Your Excellency, he said, no, that's way too grand. This is a republic of citizens. Well, what should we call you? I suppose you can call me Mr. President. So it's Mr. President. Mr. President. That's awesome. It's freaking awesome. Got another one from Marusha Dark here, and we're running a little short show, so we'll do both of them. And then we got an Eric Blake, and I think that's it for the night. And I'll go back to finishing up my getting Story Mechanics sites ready, and also I have to post a right angle before I go home. Okay, Marusha Dark, topic, role player in chief. Mr. Virtual President, you just concluded your first official phone call with the presidents of China, Russia, and Iran. Can you walk us through the transcript of each call? How did you greet them? What tone did you use? What did you discuss? What demands, requests, and assurances did you make? Were they a great conversation with someone you now consider a very close friend? Are you optimistic about them wanting to make a deal with you? Take us through how it went down and describe the dialogue that we, the American public, so rarely get to hear, as though you were writing it for a screenplay. P.S. If you haven't seen it, Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank fame gave a phenomenal testimony before Congress on the topic of how to deal with Chinese business practices. I saw it too. He was the guy who said make it 400% tax. Mr. Wonderful proved why he's among the greatest capital allocators in the country and a true patriot, in my opinion. I hope Congress takes his advice seriously and implements it. Yes. Benjamin New has a 9 super chat to get my attention because he mentioned it earlier. It's remotely related, so let me just deal with this real quickly, and then I'll come back to you, Marusha, here. Benjamin New wants to know any advice for running for school board. Yes. My advice to you would be to knock on doors, and just, this is where real changes are made, Benjamin. I would just say knock on doors and find people who are as upset about what's going on in the school as you are, and see if they will help you. Volunteer to help you, and if you knock on 10 or 20 doors, the situation is so critical in schools that if you were to run as a crusader to get schools out of being 47th in the world back to number 1 again, I get the feeling if you knocked on 20 doors, you'd probably find 2 or 3 people who would be willing to help you with that campaign. My advice to you would be, don't make it about yourself. I would basically, since you asked for my advice, my approach would be, I do not want this job. I really don't want this job. but somebody has to do something. And if you are as fed up as I am about this, then I'm your guy. I want to go in there. I want to fix these schools. I want to get them back to teaching the basics and getting our students back on the map. Just getting us on the map and having the test scores trend in the right direction. And then I will go home cheerfully. That's how I would run it. That would be my entire approach. I would, to everybody I talk to, I would say, I don't want to run for the bloody school board, but I have to. I have to. Somebody has to. We have to do something. I think that would really resonate with people. I think that would resonate strongly with a lot of people. And then I would basically sell my candidacy as a team effort among the sensible people who love their children, love their country, and are sick and tired of watching both of them being destroyed by these elitist policies that are against the rules of God and man both. That's how I would do it. I would make it a crusade where you are going as a representative of the parents and a representative of the kids, and that this is not about you in the slightest. And if there was any other way to do it, you would have done it. But there isn't. That's how dangerous and how desperate it is. He's in Georgia. So I think that would resonate really well. And I think if you can find people who back you when you go around, that's a vote. But if you can find somebody who really believes in it, then and that person goes out and does a little canvassing, then that's 50 votes. So that's what I would do. Keep it local, keep it small. Don't be slick, and for God's sake, don't make any promises or anything other than I am here to get education back into schools. I have no agenda other than I have no Republican agenda. I have no Democrat agenda. I don't have a Trump agenda. I just want our kids to get an education in the public schools that we're paying for. And and Real Good Idea says, God bless you, Ben. And let me add to that too. God bless you, Ben. Good luck. And if you go at it really believing it, I think you will. I really do think you will succeed. It's going to take shoe leather, man. And like I said, when you go door to door, don't just go looking for votes. Go looking for an army. Just start an army. And Eric says run to bring back civics classes. That alone is a great idea. You could just use that as your elevator pitch, right? We need to fix everything in our schools. So the first thing we need to do is put back civics so that people understand how their government works before they vote for it. I think it's a great idea. Anyway, back to Marisha's question. I just, to be honest with you, Marisha, if you want to bring it back again, I don't have the energy now to do the conversation between Russia, China, and Iran, but I'd like to. It sounds like fun. So can you bring it back next Thursday? And I'll get at it when I can get a head of steam up, because when I get on these kind of things, I can really get it could be fun. But right now, I just think I would. It would just be. I'd just be phoning this one in at this point. So I think if you want to bring that back, I'll try it next week. Thanks, I appreciate it. Eric Blake, last one for the night. The case of the Chinese cornucopia. So, Bill, as you know, the terrific tariff trade war has settled down to Trump successfully getting us in far better trading positions with the rest of the world. Especially significant is the position we've now put Emperor Xi in. But the big question is, what will this lead to regarding all the American farmland currently owned by the Chinese, especially considering how many of our farms are close to our military installations? When I got to Los Angeles in 1988, I was a limo driver. I learned an awful lot during that job. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I got to drive around Los Angeles. I just arrived. I got to listen to KROQ and 80s music and smell the Pacific. And I was in California, where I'd always wanted to live, and Los Angeles and movies, and I was just real happy. And I learned a lot. And I was also extremely miserable. I mean, I was just barely hanging on, living in a really, 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 really crummy apartment in North Hollywood. But anyway, The best part of that job was that we didn't do. I probably did 3 or 4 stretch limo nights in my entire 3-year career as a limo driver. Almost everything I did was Lincoln Town Cars to and from LAX, from San Marino and Pasadena area. And so I got to drive a lot of high-level, top-level businessmen. I got to drive the number one AIDS researcher in the world when AIDS was really starting to just cut through the population, and learned a lot from him and so on. And in the late 80s, it wasn't the Chinese, it was the Japanese. The Japanese were buying everything. They were buying real estate. They were buying, skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles, all this other stuff. And I was talking to some investment guy, and I was explaining my concern about foreign ownership of so much real estate. And he said something I never really forgot. He said, "Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't be worried, Bill. I'm not saying this isn't an issue, but the bottom line is, they can't take the real estate back to Japan with them." And I thought, yeah, that's right. They can't take it back with them. It's not like they can pack up this farm and ship it back to China. So if the Chinese economy tanks as a result of these tariffs, then people who have money invested in American farms will have to sell those farms. And if they're in desperate shape as a result of these tariffs, they'll probably have to sell those farms for considerably less than they bought them for. And Darth Chuck the Merciless says, "I've been in the real estate business for 40 years and I'm selling." I think that during the Biden years, it's not only a economic concern, it's a national security threat. Lady Hawk says, as long as they don't sell them to Gates. I'm much more concerned about Bill Gates owning farmland than I am about the Chinese. But I'm not even. The world changed, man. On depending on where you want to put the pin, either on November 4th or on January 20th. The world just changed. Missouri is seizing farmland from China to pay COVID judgment. See, now this to me is chef's kiss. At some point, China needs to be held responsible for letting that pandemic out of their miserably controlled labs. Anybody who I've read, who's deep into bio research. Now we have Lord Bios in the house. I think tonight he's our resident expert on this. So I don't know how far out on a limb I'm going when I say this, but everything that I've read on the subject tells me that the Chinese lab controls and protocols are well short of what American, top-level bio security standards are. And that Wuhan in particular was really almost, shocking compared to. We have obviously high-level bio research labs where they're dealing with some very, very nasty stuff, and the security protocols and the handling protocols and all of that is remarkable, and so, Capital G Geek says Fauci funded the study. Does he bear any responsibility? He does. And the United States government bears responsibility for it too, because we put money into it. It was funneled there, anyway, by Fauci. I don't remember. There's no evidence it came from a lab. I've worked in labs like Wuhan before, says Lord Bios. Well, that's a surprise to me, to be honest with you. It sure seems to be a long way away from the nearest bats, but to say there's no evidence that it came from a lab is frankly a little surprising to me. But then again, you're the guy who works in the industry, and I'm just a guy who talks about working in the industry. So you certainly have earned my respect over time, but I'm quite surprised to see that. In any event, whether it did or not, it certainly came from China. and I think the one thing that is the smoking gun of criminal liability is that China shut down flights from Wuhan to other parts of China 10 days before they shut down flights from Wuhan to the United States and so on. So they knew that there was something going on, and they shut down their own country, but they allowed people to still travel to the U.S. and Europe, and Spain. I remember got hit really, really hard. Anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. Lord Bio says people work with COVID now, and there are no biotechnological markers in the virus. So, I had heard that there were early on, and I mean like in April of 2020. But I have a lot of respect for people who are experts in fields where I'm not an expert, and I also have a lot of skepticism about things as well. So, I'm kind of torn on this one. Sven says 35,000 towns in China, 35,000 wet markets, one lab like the one in Wuhan, 35,001 odds it came from the wet market in Wuhan, and so on. Lord Bio says China obviously knew something was happening, but it doesn't mean they released it. I'm not saying they released it. I'm not saying that they said it. I'm not saying that China intentionally released it. He says coronaviruses emerge in Asia almost daily. And Marisha counters with China had means, motive, and opportunity to release it. Well, I don't know whether or not intentional release occurred, but whether they're liable for I guess I'm going to have to get a little deeper into this to find out exactly what's happening. Checoms deliberately spread it to all nations at once, accidentally got loose in China. I do know that Donald Trump was on kicking China's butt pretty hard in 2019, and that we had this roaring economy, and that Trump looked like he was well on his way to a second term, and then all of a sudden, we've got this virus which is deadly enough to get people's attention, but not deadly enough to cause the economies of the world to break down. And I don't really want to revisit this now. I'm not trying to chicken out. I know this show's about talking about these subjects, but I don't know. Busted says the real question is, what are we doing now to prevent 2019 happening again, especially in retaliation for tough tariffs on a particular country? BSL levels, I guess that's biosafety levels, are determined based on how endemic the virus is. Where it's being researched, it's BSL level 3 in the USA. Anyway, the Rough Ryan says there's no way to avoid it. Another biological weapon outbreak is inevitable. Presumably that's what the spike protein vaccine was designed to head off. But anyway, I'll just tell you why I'm so reluctant to get into both of these right now. There's so much ahead of us. There's so much in the future that's just looking really good. That right at this particular moment on the 10th of April at 7:44 p.m. Pacific time, I'm not in the mood to go back and refight those dark days. It was just miserable 4 years, and I do believe that the truth will come out, especially with the FBI and the Justice Department back in hands of the American people, and I assume CIA the same way. I'm fairly sure that the combined intelligence resources of the United States, once they are removed from partisan politics, would be able to fairly conclusively answer this question. So, but we will see. We will see. Anyway, so China owns a lot of U.S. farmland, and yes, coincidentally happens to be close to our military bases. Okay, well, I think China's. I'm not saying that their position in the world stage is about to end. I'm saying it's possible. I'm also saying that that they have bought and paid for this bad will that the entire world shares. I understand America is not popular in a lot of countries, but I have not heard of any country that is fond of China. And China has no allies. Despite what you say about America, and America having let down our allies is one of the biggest sore spots for me. It really, really drives me nuts. But the bottom line is America has an alliance of, 100 plus nations around the world, and bases in 165 countries or something like that. And China has no allies, and doesn't appear to be in the mood to make any. Eric says, what happens if all this leads to Taiwan being the one to invade China? Stranger things have happened. Not that Taiwan would invade China, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine what would replace the CCP if it falls, but I really don't know what would step into its place. I don't think anybody really saw the kleptocracy that took over in Russia when the Soviet Union fell. But that's what happened. So I don't know. It's a tough call. It'd be nice to have these countries like Russia and China just rejoin the family of nations. Everybody else pretty much gets along. China, as Marisha pointed out in that question, China, Russia, and Iran are rogue nations, and everybody else isn't. And that way, it's people say American hegemony. It's like, really, how are we a hegemon? What military force do we exert? It's like, no. It's like we're the big man on campus. We're just the popular kid, and it's just I don't know. I think things are looking. I think things are. I just think that things are looking brighter, and I'm kind of trying to stay positive. I'd like to. I completely want to see this fully investigated, and I want people held responsible if they knowingly did things. I'm very tolerant. I'm very tolerant of people making mistakes, especially in times of crisis like COVID. In the beginning, we didn't know what we didn't know, but once we knew what we knew, and then they with full knowledge of the fact that the masks were minimally effective, if at all, and that schools were shutting down and depriving kids of 10 or 15 IQ points. Because people were hysterical about a virus that the mortality rate in the 5 to 15 age group was so close to zero, it was zero. Wesley says this is history's biggest alliance, not hegemony. It's an alliance. Now, I think that this is one of the few places where I do get off the boat from Donald Trump. I think the most effective way to lead an international alliance is to be the most humble group. This comes back to Washington's appeal and Armstrong's appeal. The real genius of being the big dog is if you're the big dog and you speak softly and listen to everybody. If you can pull that off, my friends, you have the world as your oyster. That's not DNA that Donald Trump possesses. But right now, coming off of being taken advantage of so badly for so long, I am more than fine with the swagger and the gold gilding. I'm fine with that. But and J.D. Vance strikes me as the kind of guy who has the ability to step into a Washington type leading through genuine humility, and that kind of leadership is irresistible. So if you're in the business of winning, if you like to win, that's the way to do it. Everybody knows who the world revolves around, and the more you shove that in people's faces, the more unpopular you get. The more you kind of aw shucks it, the more popular you become. It's phenomenal. It's simple. But in any event, talk softly, carry a big stick. Roadrunner says a couple places, and Trump has got the big stick part down. So I'd rather have the big stick than the talk softly if I have to choose. But you get the idea. So that's about it. Well, Gangaroos, another relatively short one compared to our 3-hour cruises, but we're at an hour and 30, and most of that was questions. So I know it's been shorter shows lately, but I am working like a devil trying to keep the existing wheels turning and bring this new stuff out. I think the show looks fantastic. Story Mechanics show looks absolutely fantastic. Very kind words about having a great weekend. I could go for an airplane ride, I think. Might work on the bitchin' Camaro a little bit. And then, but most of the time I'm going to be here and get this thing launched, and then we're going to do a membership drive. I've got to get this website hole plugged, and this guy's not doing the job. So it's time to put up another job posting and get this thing done. And we're at another 5-hour tour. Oh, okay. I need somebody get me 17 Red Bulls and 50 amyl nitrate poppers. I dare you. If I get another 500 members, I will eat this webcam. I will eat the webcam. So there we go. Red 4, sorry about that. I know nothing about the situation, and I'm kind of at the end of the show, so if I'd heard something about it, I might have mentioned it, but I'm afraid I can't really get to that for you. But I can say that this show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com who keep the lights on and the cameras are rolling and all the rest of it, and we're very, very grateful for that, certainly, as we have always been, and hope to increase those, well, not to hope to increase those numbers, have to increase those numbers. So if you have friends who you think might enjoy this content and they're never heard of us before, we're going to ask you to go door to door in your neighborhoods and shake some hands and hand out some flyers. So we will do that, but and thanks again for all the kind words about birthdays and Natasha and Bean and let's see what do we get to here. Latest update. 59 subscribers. Well, we'll get there. That'll increase once this, because we get about 2,000 views on any given thing, is over the course of the next couple of days. So we'll see that. But the main subscriber push will come when I start tying this into the right angles and hot mics and things like that. So that's when we'll get this thing up. We need to get this above we need to get it above, not just above 1,000 subscribers. We need 4,000 view hours. I think that's going to take a while to monetize that. But main purpose is not to monetize the channel. Main purpose is to drive BillWhittle.com memberships. And I need to turn on super thanks. And Natasha's been constantly talk to me about that. I said, "Why haven't you done that?" I said, "Because I'm an idiot, honey. You knew that when you married me, or you should have. You should have. Caveat emptor." Anyway, I'm sure she's working on her music back home, and I can't wait to see what she's done next. So that'll do it for this edition of the Stratosphere Lounge. Again, thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com. I'm going to be busy boy in the next couple days getting all this stuff together and moving windows around and getting videos going. I'll have a probably premiere the second segment of the micro thing next Thursday night. Yeah, I think that'll do it. Okay, so for our friends over on YouTube, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on Monday night for the Stratosphere Studio. Hooray!